Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
First item, approve the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, a couple of additions, if I may, and corrections. On the consent agenda, we have commissioners' warrants, an add-on of $6,493.93. And in your commissioners' vouchers packet, we have two changes. One of them is on page 3. There's a bill to Morris Electronics. It's incorrectly coded to 061 Human Resources. It should be coded to 065 IT. That's on page 3. And on page 9, top of the page, there's a payment to Domain Networks to EMS, and that'll be deleted.
Mr. Chair, with that couple of changes, I'd move the agenda.
I'll support that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of the consent agenda. Approve the minutes of 11/8/22. Approve the commissioner warrants and the add-on of $6,493.93. The auditor warrants from 11/10 and 11/18/22. And approve the hospital warrants of $1,087,366.93.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Nick?
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, first item I have today is our upcoming fuel bid that we scheduled for December 27th. Got to looking at a calendar and thought I should double check on being so close to when Christmas is observed. I wanted to make sure that our suppliers could get bids that morning, and they did confirm that they can deliver on that, or get a
good.
current bid on that date. So just thought if that popped into anybody else's head, that that we checked into that and we confirmed that date still works for them. So everything's on track there. Next item would be our beaver bounty. We're currently paying a $25 supplement to townships. The unofficial count I have, which I could be wrong, it's just as we pay these, I try to keep track of them, but looks like since 2017 we've paid like 246, which really was an eye opener to me. I didn't think it was that many, but so I'm sure we've done our drainage system a lot of good in doing that. But Luke was contacted with a request to increase that. I did reach out to our surrounding counties, and nobody else seems to do it like us. So unfortunately, I don't have any data to support an increase or leaving it alone or anything. So I don't really know what to say after that. I don't know if anybody's got any thoughts or.
I guess just discussion, excuse me, just thinking out loud. We obviously get a benefit from it. Mm-hmm. And I know it's probably difficult to put an actual dollar amount to it, but we know what it does cost to take out beaver dams and so forth and so on. We also know that as far as in the fur industry, that there's not much demand, so there's not a lot of people trapping for fur anymore.
Okay.
And we also know, of course, price of gasoline, everything else has gone up. So if we see a benefit from it, which I think no one can dispute, we see a benefit from it, I wouldn't be opposed to increasing the bounty. I don't know how much, but I do think that, because it's been $25 for a long time.
Yeah, ever since we enacted it, and I'm very out of touch with the like the fur industry and all that stuff. Like I wouldn't have any idea what it costs to
Yeah.
trap one or buy a trap, or how many trips it takes, as far as gasoline and whatnot. I unfortunately can't. I'm not of any help there. So
Now, granted, a large portion of the people who do this is sportsmen or whatever.
Yep.
That's probably not the only reason they do it. But because we're seeing
Right.
a benefit from it, I do think it'd be appropriate for us to support what they're doing and increase it a little bit. What do you guys think? Does that logic make sense?
I
to you
just
guys?
thought that, when I got a call about it, that, for $25, that's almost near an hourly wage for a lot of people nowadays. Excuse me. And I just thought, you may not get many that even want to go do it, and then have to deal with the hassle of, trudging through wet ground or whatever, and then what do you do with the carcass? And
Yeah.
there's a little more to it than a lot of people would even want to mess around with if it's too small of an amount.
Mr. Chairman, as far as the ditch committee goes, we use a gentleman named Andrew Keel to trap the beavers for us, and he charges us $75 per beaver is what his rate is. So that is, when he gets paid back, we split that 3 ways between the ditch committee, highway department, and the township. So he's getting his full $75 back for what he's doing for the county and the ditch system. So most of the townships do have a bounty as well, and it's the same rate as what the county does. And this example is Gray Township. They're doing the same thing. So that's a little idea for you of how much they charge us to go trap beavers too.
How's that set up then with this Mr. Keel? And he does it year round on his own schedule? You guys specifically have him go out and target an area when you see a problem area?
We base it on where we find a problem.
Okay.
We find a beaver dam, and then you call Andrew and say, Andrew, we got a beaver dam in the ditch. The last one we had was just at the confluence of both the main ditch and the branch right by the Casey Jones Trail. And there's a big dam there, and he was able to trap 3 beavers out of there. And we've had them in different areas of the ditch. Earlier this year and last year, they were further to the south and east in the same section of ditch between there and Highway 30. So they're active in that area along the ditch. We've had them up on Highway 23 underneath the railroad bridge on the ditch system as well. So, and the dam they just made was a very large one, and I contacted Nick, and he was gonna send maintenance out there to check and see if they could get that thing knocked down, because it's holding back a lot of water right now. But $75 is his rate per beaver, and he's getting paid back. This way he's got a 3-way deal going with us, because we can pay him out of 3 different entities to get him his money back.
And then he still also draws the bounty on top of the $75 that we pay him too, or that's?
No, that's part of it.
That's all of it?
Yeah. So $25 of the bounty came from the highway, 25 came from ditch, and 25 came from Gray Township. So he got his full $75 on the 3 entities.
So if we were to raise the bounty today, then he would also see a raise in what he's being paid. Is that what you're
I
saying?
can't answer that. I don't know if he'll raise his rates or not.
Oh, I see. That's what he is.
His rate to us is $75 per beaver trapped.
yeah, so we have 2 different things going on here. Like we've hired him to take some out of our right of way. We've hired him directly for that, and then there's other times where he gets them from, I don't know, middle of the section, or wherever else, and that's when we just pay our bounty to the township, which is less, and I don't know what the township pays.
And apparently the townships aren't all the same, because I reached out to Aetna, and they said that they just paid 35 total, but then they kept our 25. So they were only paying 10 apparently above the 25 we were paying.
Do you have a recommendation at all?
No, I don't.
Not to put you on the spot.
That's why I said, like, I'm very out of touch with that industry. I don't know how much work it is. I don't know what it's worth to them. And I honestly don't know how to put a value on what it's worth for our road. But like, if you got a bunch of water sitting in a ditch, that doesn't do the road any good, and that can get really expensive really fast. But I don't have a way to put a dollar amount on that.
I'd be in favor of increasing it, but I wanna make sure there aren't unintended consequences too, that do we need to coordinate with the townships before we make a decision ourselves? Or do we take the lead on this? What do you guys?
I think we could just take the lead. I guess I'd move that we increase it to 50 at least.
Double it, you think double 25? Cause it's been years,
Oh, it's been a number of years, yeah.
Yeah.
and total numbers of beavers that we're talking about for a year, are we talking a couple hundred? So it's not a huge.
I'd say
number.
around 50 based on 246 over 5 years.
Yeah, and I would say that same thing, like, just based on these unofficial numbers I have, like, you know, just like Luke said, it's been about 5 years, we've done about 250, so it must be about 50 of them a year then.
And it's possible that by increasing our bounty, it might spur some interest, and might have a few more trappers out there, and if we do, that's a good thing, because we want
That's
to
the benefit of it.
control
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
So, I would second your motion of the $50.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. Next up for me would be to set a bid opening date for our 2023 box culverts, contract number 2. We'd like to open those bids on January 24th at 10:30. One snag we've run into with this, and it may or may not be a problem, there's more info to follow, but so the state has run out of what they call special town bridge money, which means like if you've requested enough, if you have enough requests in that exceed your allotment, they can dip into that extra pot of money. Well, that is now out, and what we've requested has exceeded what we have. So I have an email into them to ask what to do about that. There's some options we can request to advance our funds from the upcoming year. I'm hoping to simplify this by, you know, I told them that, well, we wouldn't be asking for any money from you until our new allotment comes in, because our new allotment will be here about the time we open bids. So I hope we can just do it that way. So we don't have to do the resolution and all the other paperwork for advancing and everything. So I'll see what they say. They might turn around and say, nope, you're gonna have to delay it till February, but I don't know, in order to keep the ball rolling, I think I'd like to get it approved for this date, and then hope that we can work something out that's a little simpler on the paperwork side. But just so you know, I might have to come back and change that date, but that's what we got going on, so.
Where are these culverts?
So they're kind of scattered. Geez, we do so many of these, it's hard for me to memorize them by just the number, but, so those first 3, I don't remember where they're all at. I feel like some of them are up north. But the main one to me in this group that is the most important would be that bottom one, that 607-023. That's the one on our County Road 7, just north of town, and it's posted. And all of the oversized loads for like house moves, like to go that route to get around town. So that's to me, that's a pretty important one to get knocked off. So, these oversized moves can get around town better. So, I should have included a map, but I don't recall. They're on. They'd either be township bridges or they would be county maintained township roads. So they're not. Only that last one is a state aid road. So they'd be lower volume roads like we've been focusing on lately.
I'll make an motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, next up for me would be to approve final payment for our 2021 gravel crushing. It was let in 21, the work was done earlier this year. as you'll see, it exceeded our original contract amount by quite a bit. There's a lot more dozer work than we had originally estimated, which, I don't, I'm not saying they went over the top. We just kind of took a guess at what it was going to take to do it. And, I think our estimate was just off on that. Plus we increased the quantity quite a bit. We were really happy with the product and we had a good bid price. We could just put a bigger quantity out there to begin with, but then if we don't get that good of a price, or if we're not necessarily thrilled with the product, then we're kind of stuck with that larger quantity. So I want to say we've increased just about every one we've ever done, probably 4 out of 5 or something like that, 9 out of 10, whatever, somewhere up in that category. So it's not uncommon. So don't be alarmed to see that it went that much over. We got that much material, and we wanted extra to put additional gravel on those roads we tiled. So that was part of it too. So.
And how do we word the terms of that contract when we go over? There still is, the cost per yard, is it still?
Yep, it stays the same. We just increase the quantity. They don't rebid it.
Yeah.
That's your bid price.
A premium for that overage amount at all?
No, it's the same price that they pay for the original.
I would say just keep doing what you've been doing.
I don't think we can force them to. We just offer it to them like, hey, we're happy with this product and this price, so would you want to go another 25% or whatever?
And normally when they're set up anyway, and if they got time, and that time of year, normally they have time, because they get.
Yep, I think they've taken that every time we've offered it, so
I think
it works good for everybody, so.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
I'll support that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
All right, next up for me would be a request to approve the final payment for our box culverts along our County Road 56 to A&C Excavating out of Marshall. Final payment amount is $3,643.07. You'll see they came in a little under the original bid price. They underran on a few quantities. One of the things we keep seeing repeatedly is, recently anyway, a lot of the landowners have elected to do their own fence. We put that into bid price in case they don't have time. So then we got the contractor kind of on the hook, like they have to do it. So then when the landowner does it, we pay them instead of the contractor. So that's part of the price. We're also required to show erosion control in each of the 4 corners for a long ways up the ditch. But if they don't disturb that far, they don't need to put it down. So, so we see savings there too. So that's, those are usually the main 2 items. So, other than that, I don't really have any additional comments for it. Pretty straightforward.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we make the final payment of $3,643.07 for contract number 3.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right. Next up then would be final payment for the second box culvert contract of 2022. There's also to A&C Excavating out of Marshall. This final payment amount is $4,551.63. You see that one underran a little bit too, and it's for the same reasons as the last one, underrunning. So, another straightforward one. Nothing out of line here, in my opinion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
I'll support that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item for me would be the island bridges. I met with the Road and Bridge Committee. I have talked with the contractor about that. And the short version is they ran into an old bridge on that project. It was, I don't know if it was illegal back then, but it's illegal now. The old one was buried in place, but that was common practice back then. So that required some extra work. They had to remove that. Then some of the demo that was buried too deep, they were hitting with their wooden piling, and it was breaking the piling. That was the piling used for the forms to hold the concrete forms for the deck pour. So they had to use steel beams instead, so that was an extra cost. Removing some of that bridge demo was an extra cost, and they proposed taking that cost themselves in exchange for us not charging penalty on the delay. And I feel that's a good deal. I think we should proceed with that. That's the direction I got from the committee. So if the full board feels that way, we'll send off the final paperwork with that reflecting that.
That sounds like a very equitable way of
Yep.
handling that.
Yep, I was happy with it. So yeah, I think we should do that. But
Do we need a motion on that?
no, just I think consensus is fine. I mean, if if you're all comfortable with that, I am. I would recommend that. Then we'll just send out the final paperwork as that, and I'll when we get that signed, then I'll be back for board action to make that payment.
Okay. For planning purposes going forward, is there a chance that in other bridge projects we might run into this buried demo?
Buried demo? Oh yeah. Yeah, we actually probably run into that maybe once a year with, say we're 1 out of 10, I should maybe say, of these box culverts, we run into that. It's so frequent, we actually have it right in our proposal that if you guys run into any of this stuff that's not in the plans, we'll pay you change order based on time and materials, so their excavator time, their trucking time, and their disposal fees, because, how can they bid that in if we don't tell them it's there? So it's only fair to do it that way.
The only thing they could do is add it on everyone to protect themselves, and it's just costing us more in the long run. So this is.
But then we're paying it every single time.
Exactly. So then we're paying it every single time. So
Yeah.
this is a much better way.
Yeah, I think so
Fair
too.
to them, and because they can't foresee every time there might be some old footings in there. So
Right. Yep. So that's that's right in our proposal. Everyone we send out it just makes life a lot easier that way when we got it called out how it'll be dealt with. So
it sounds like a good plan there.
okay. So yeah, we'll get that paperwork sent off then, reflecting that negotiation. So. All right. Then the last item I have for today, MnDOT reached out to me yesterday and said that they'll be contacting us in the near future about that shared snow plowing. If you recall, we approved that, I think it was last year, we approved some deal with them. And I believe that just said that if either of us need help, we can help one another, and it talks about how we'll bill for it, but, it's kind of tough, like when they're busy, we're busy, but, it's one of those things, I suppose, if they had an illness or something go through their shop or something, or vice versa, we could maybe do it that way, but I think it's a good thing to do. It's not saying we have to be there, it's just setting the paperwork or up to where if it works out to help one another, we've already got it approved on how we're gonna handle it, so no action needed or anything now. It's just, I just wanted to let you know that they told me they will be sending that form again soon for our consideration. So
This mutual aid concept and anything ever been discussed with our neighboring counties as well, instead of just with the state DOT?
I don't know if we have snowplow specific, but I know we have agreements for like sharing of personnel for like construction inspection. I know I think we have that with Rock, Murray, and Lincoln, I believe. But I know that agreement may very well, I would think, would cover that, the snow plowing, but.
Or even any other natural event of some kind, a tornado or whatever. If they're affected, we're affected. We can call, if we needed to, we can call in other counties for mutual aid. There's nothing really formal put together.
I don't know how vague that technician one was worded, if that was just like, hey, we can help each other and we'll just bill you our cost, you know, if it was that, or if it was specific to like construction inspection. But I know we've hired Lincoln County to do stuff for us before, like, I think we hired them to do an asbestos inspection once, you know, cause they had a certified inspector, and, you know, that, we've done that, and so, but that was more of the engineering side of things versus maintenance, but I'd have to check on that agreement. Hopefully it was vague enough to where we can just, you know, just whatever, you know, just do it and then just bill whatever our cost is, because we have our cost rates set up for, you know, what it costs to do things, so.
Perhaps when you have your statewide meetings with the other county highway engineers, that might be a topic you might want to discuss if they want
Yeah,
to actually put together mutual aid outline of some kind for future use.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that. I think there's a good chance that we already technically have that set up, but I'll confirm that. I know we have it for the construction inspection, but like I said, like, I think it's probably vague enough to where we can do everything with that, but I'll confirm that, and if not, we'll maybe look at modifying that, so.
Steve, do you know on the EMS side, is there any type of formal mutual aid agreement, or it's just kind of assumed they'll help each other?
Yeah, there's assumptions out there. I seem to remember a document that we had through you that did show mutual aid on it.
I think so.
There's something out
What?
there, and I think it wasn't specific to any type of event, but could be plowing, disaster response, moving trees. If we ever have a huge disaster, we're gonna need people from counties around us, and they'll be needing us as well if we can, you know, support them if we're not obviously take care of our
Yeah.
own. But that's
I know
that's
we've-
an important part of it too.
I know we set that up for like construction inspection. I think I was involved with some of them, you know. So I know we have it for that. I just can't remember how vague it was worded. Like if it was like specifically just for engineering stuff, or if it was just kind of open ticket, like any county work, you know. That's what I have to check on, but so and I'm pretty optimistic it probably is that big, but I'll follow up on that.
And maybe touch base with Casey as well too, because of the emergency part of it too. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, certainly be, if there's a tree blocking the road after a tornado or something like that and it was right over the line, we wouldn't just, oh, sorry guys, too bad, you know, we could, we'd get it off the road so nobody hits it, but.
And it should be limited just to counties too. Our cities may need help if we ever have huge storm, that type of thing. They won't have the equipment to take care of it either, so they'll be looking at you
And
guys for help too.
I believe in 2011 or whenever that tornado went through Ruth, then I believe that we did some work just to help get their streets cleared. Actually, do you remember that, Doug? Okay, so yeah, there you go. My memory serves me well. so yeah, I would still support doing that for the smaller cities, just so people can get around and whatnot. So yep, I will check into that mutual aid then. So, any other questions for me? Otherwise, that's all I had for today.
I thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, thank you. I'll hang around for the recognition.
Good.
Wayne.
Morning.
Morning.
Okay, we finally got a decent bid on redoing the courtroom ceiling. It's removal of all the old paint that's chipping, and then they're gonna use a primer, and this will be all Sherwin-Williams paint. The rep was here and recommended to them what to do with all this, so the rep himself was here. So we come up with a bid of $28,375. And I'm just gonna say it's roughly gonna take between 2 and 3 weeks to do it.
Will the court have to close?
Yep, cause we'll have to take all the benches out of there and
When are they thinking of doing this?
as soon as we can.
Possible?
Yep,
It's been a long time coming.
yes, yeah, it has. Yep,
I see on the bid it talks about with air compressor and so forth, so
Yes.
they're gonna use some kind of a media blasting, or they're gonna use sand.
no, just air.
Just air itself?
just air.
And then,
And they'll use brushes and scrapers and stuff.
right, then how do they capture the scrapings then, so those?
They'll let plastic down.
Okay, and we've got bond and insurance and so forth, so that if there's any damage, anything.
We'll have to get that yet.
We will need their certificate of insurance before they proceed.
Yep.
Right, yeah. And then you talked about having to move the benches out of there, so is that gonna be part of their labor, or that's gonna be our labor?
We'll do it.
Okay. It's quite a price tag for painting a ceiling, but it's just not a normal ceiling.
No, it's not.
Lot less than the other bid we had.
Right, yep, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more than just the ceiling, it's the aesthetic value of that courtroom too. And he said, we've been
Yeah.
working in this since,
Years,
sitting here since 2018. We've tried to get other vendors and
yep,
they look, and we've contacted people and they don't show up, and it's like they look up and go, oh.
And the one out in the cities, I think they were 60-some thousand.
Yeah.
yeah,
They were way higher, so.
yeah,
Are these relatively local?
They are local.
yes, they are,
They're local.
yeah.
They're the same ones that put a bid in on the soil and water and extension building too, so.
I'll make the motion that we approve the bid then, and again, I know we like to have two bids, but you certainly have done your due diligence over the years, so even though it is a big price tag, it needs to be done, so I'll make the motion, we approve this bid for the work then to have that ceiling painted.
I'll support that.
And
Any
again,
further discussion?
make sure that we're covered for any damages,
Yeah.
because I'm just concerned about that paint flakes going everywhere and ruining the carpet and
The
whatever.
carpet will be replaced.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're gonna wait till,
Timing is good.
do that one until
Perfect time.
after we get the painting done.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne.
Next up is employee recognition.
Nobody wants to come in?
Tell them they can't have any cake if they don't come in.
First one in the door.
That's right,
Somebody's gotta start.
that's right.
You got them all gathered?
So who's minding the store if they're all here?
Ready? Need to say anything here?
I'm not talking.
Read the resolution.
Somebody has to talk.
Okay.
Maybe Stephen Musk, like one of you wants to hand these out and announce the names, and the other one
Sure.
wants to say a few words.
Go ahead and read the resolution. Steve and I'll hand them off.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, you want me to read the resolution?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thank you all for coming, and thank you for the hard work that you've done. We've got an official resolution here to read. So as I stumble through this, the whereas and so forth, obviously it's from the Pipestone County Board of Commissioners wishes to authorize the staff retention payment of full-time and part-time employees to the staff. The County Board of Commissioners values the commitment of county staff members and chooses to reward them with retention payment
That's
utilizing
wrong one,
ARPA
Dan.
funds.
Wrong one.
Wrong one.
That's the wrong one.
Try again. Try this one. No money. No money involved.
Stay tuned.
I feel embarrassed. I read the resolution, but not the right resolution. Employee recognition program, the whereas. Counties have a long history of providing critical services. County governments are citizens' local government voice, providing solutions that bring communities together. So the whereas, Pipestone County Board of Commissioners would like to recognize the following employees. So for 5 years of service, we've got Ryan Bridgewater. Ryan, are we gonna have him step forward? Is that the plan? Okay,
Let's see that.
and then,
Start announcing the
Yeah.
names,
okay,
cause some of them are 5, 6.
Yeah, I've got them all listed here, so.
why don't you just read the names off there, as you, because you got them listed in your pile in order there.
First one, 5 years of service to Mark Ager.
Yep.
We're going from newer ones to seasoned veterans, I think.
Bridget Hartman.
Richard Hartman, 5 years.
Thank you.
Cole here today?
No.
Okay, Cole Nordmeyer, 5 years. Josh Watts, Josh in? I see Brian Dank, 6 years. Ryan in? Ryan Bridgewater, 6 years.
Not here.
Okay. Wayne Drew, 6 years. Diane Booker, 10 years. Jeff Baker, running around. Got him working? Mm-hmm. Jeff Baker's 10 years of service as well. Jeff Rowden, 11 years. Nicola Backer, 11 years.
Yep, thank you.
Let's see Tyler Rippentrop, 11 years. Our own HR coordinator, Kathy Feste, 11 years of service.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nick Bergman, 15 years of service. Casey Siebert, 16 years of service. Edison Dangler, 15 years of service.
Getting up there in years. Thank you. Thanks.
Quentin Johnson, 16 years of service. He's out working. Bill Folger, 16 years of service.
Thank you, Bill.
Kyle Creer, 20 years of service. Kyle. Lori Booker, 20 years of service. Bruce Wellen, 25 years of service.
Thank you.
Mike Heyman, 25 years service. Jared Johnson, 26 years of service.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not the least, Pam Tees with 30 years of service.
So again, the Pipestone County Board of Commissioners wishes to recognize these employees that are here with us in person and also those that are out minding the store for all these years of service to Pipestone County. And also, whereas these employees have served the county with dedication and commitment in working for the best interest of Pipestone County government and also the residents of Pipestone County. And also, whereas these employees' experience and knowledge on behalf of Pipestone County has been an invaluable contribution to Pipestone County Board and therefore to all of Pipestone County residents. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Pipestone County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes that the service of these employees has been an asset to the residents of Pipestone County and to the county board, and expresses their sincere appreciation for the years of service. And this was passed by the board then today with a motion. So, Mr.
So
Chair,
moved.
you beat me to it.
Go ahead.
Nope.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, guys.
And I will get cake and refreshments and we'll get some photos if you guys are up to photos.
Adjourn for a minute?
Yep.
Take recess.
Recess.
Recess, whatever.
I like cake. I like cake.
Richard.
Oh.
Length of service first.
Yes, that's right.
Oldest one's first.
Running, so I'm not sure you want to. Absolutely. So I turned the volume down and made a blue screen, because if I shut it off, when I put everything back on, the rest of the meeting is not working. Okay. We've got confirmation.
We're still the way before.
Yeah, oh yeah. Gotta have a meeting. That's good.
Yeah, that will be good.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I've had people complain that. Yeah, we really saw a part, or you know, heard part, and then it's nothing.
Yeah. Well, the last one I had, when it dropped out, but I didn't even send it to cable access.
Right.
No, like the branding, so it's just.
It's not the official version anyway.
Helps me, you know.
Yep, exactly. Why not? With the street cameras.
I got a great big one.
I'm actually meeting it might have a conflict with work, but I'm not sure. Yeah, because we need to. Exactly.
No, it's gonna have to be closed. For sure. I get an extra week. It'd be nice, yeah, if we can get that done.
Yeah, he had been sick for a long time, but he had never been very less than 50.
Yeah, we gotta check it out. Yeah. A card was 40. He wants to have it come to a 60.
I would not.
Be honest with you. I'd be honest with you.
I agree. How about,
We gotta work that out.
yep. Has a farm right where you turn to go. New life. That's on the corner. Yeah, got a farm right on the corner there.
Yeah, actually, I think that's where
Higher yet.
Yeah, because, you know, Brad used to live there. He lives north.
Right behind you.
Stop right, Mr. That was last week. They made it was whatever that's where that
think you're about done.
It's kind of a volunteer basis. Well, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Want any? No, I'm good. Okay. Want any?
But there's 2 points that we did there. Hey, I mean, that's my favorite Susan of the day. I could use this as an opportunity to get Susan to try to get some people to go over here.
Right. I guess we could say it. But it's just like, well, I mean, do it there.
Yeah. Right. So you have to stand outside.
Well, I mean, even outside, because they have that thing in front of us.
Garbage can back there?
Yeah, want me to grab the little one?
Yeah, I mean, now the people talking here, citizens, whatever it's called now, they were nice and were telling people, but I know, probably 1,000 people.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So we ended up, I think we gave them 700 or so.
Down.
Which is out of it. Have to dip it back down, keep it going or whatever.
Yep.
And I did tell them after the fact. Maybe you should have a parking lot. Where you can have a park a long way, they can be giving it out at the end of it. You can have several of them lined up, but they don't have to be storefronts.
No, exactly.
And frankly, I think they should back where they come in and build it. I mean, that was the purpose of it to begin with. But they've done this, so convenience. But some people don't want to do this. And admittedly, it makes a mess if they come in.
Yeah.
I mean, because, all the doors open and leaves coming flowing in.
I'm sure some kids are throwing at us.
Oh, right. I mean, it's like a garbage mess. But I mean, still, the point is to report to God or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Commerce has this.
Right. But, I understand. But,
So the building across the street is
yeah,
Is that the paper for Kelly, man?
there's 4 of us that are gonna walk away. I don't know that. I heard that.
I heard it straight from Byron.
No, I mean, they didn't give a name out.
I don't know.
Pretty significant. Because, I mean, right
Yeah.
intentionally. Yeah, with no notice, no proper notice. You're totally on the contract. And even Spain said they're gonna lose something. Well, I can tell Balin, they're putting lines, but I mean, I think that they're. No. Just. Frankly, I think they can go out and they're gonna. Okay. What's your uncle's name that you just
No, I think we kind of.
Oh, Bobby Evans.
mustache?
Oh, right.
You see him at breakfast sometimes. I didn't know his name, but from hearing him talk, it's apparently your mom's brother. Yeah.
She's got a couple of Oh, that's Bob. 70s. Might get the back.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that explains a lot. I thought there was some other. I was wondering, like,
those apps up here.
Right. Yeah, cause you wouldn't have guessed that now necessarily. Or say the least.
Just a big old afro. I've never seen them old pictures of him.
That's funny.
Before he got married and stuff.
It's a 20 to 26, you're out of here.
Then she changed it, just does walk.
Yeah, he likes to go out. Yeah. I think he'd like to go trucking again, but he's still here.
Oh, it sounded bad.
Okay, ready?
But, you know, after all the talk on TV about my up until he mentioned that. I didn't know anything.
Right.
Hey, especially as an adult.
I didn't know when the daughters had it.
I don't feel like getting up early today, so I'm not
That's funny you said that.
Oh, wow. Oh, I bet there's in trouble now.
You can have mine, right?
We have to have another recess after a while to finish the cake. You can't put it in your pocket.
He's left, I mean, been in harvest. Last 2 years, he's been on vacation. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you.
You bet. Yeah, we'll take that. You can't try to take it.
What happened to him?
All right. I don't know how much time it
We'll have to have the sheriff investigate.
Yeah, that's true.
See you, Casey. Thank you.
Great. Yep. You bet. Have a good day.
See you guys.
You got quiet in here.
Yes,
Thank you, Kathy, for
put that together.
I assume it was you. So,
Dallas and Dan made the motion for the resolution, right? For
Yes.
recognition? Perfect, thank you.
And now we can get the correct resolution. Sorry about that, guys.
Are we back on, Steve, yet?
Not yet. Sign that one.
It's orange.
Before you do that. That's not accurate.
what?
All. Because there's some on that list that are not.
Oh, just a second.
Sure.
Are we back in business?
We are.
Come out of recess and start over again. Personnel, Kathy.
Right. So we took care of the recognition resolution. Thank you guys for that. The next items I have are the job descriptions. So we are currently gonna be advertising for EMTs and paramedics, and Casey and Cole have been working really hard on the schedule. So we really wanted to get the schedule ironed out before we posted it officially. It has been put on our website, but we haven't started advertising widespread yet for the full-time, but we wanted to get the schedule change in the new job descriptions as well. So that's really the only thing that changed in these two job descriptions is under the classification, they're just regular positions, either full-time or part-time, utilizing a rotating schedule that consists of a variety of 24-hour shifts and 12-hour shifts. And then once we get these two positions filled, they can implement the new schedule. Casey and Cole have been working with the current staff and they're aware, but they'll get formal notice of the schedule change once we get the two new EMTs or paramedics into the service. So I would be seeking approval of the revised job descriptions indicating the 24-hour and 12-hour shift schedules.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
Just a question about the facilities themselves, and so with a larger number of people then using that on-call house, is that going to pose any problems at all, or is that gonna?
It shouldn't be an issue because it should still just be two-person crew.
You know, and they don't leave any of their personal possessions behind when they're not there, so it's not like they need a storage locker for things or anything like that.
Right. Yep.
Are we short currently?
Are we short?
Yeah, of employees for this?
We have still 4 full-time. So we have 2 full-time paramedics and 2 full-time EMTs. So these would be just adding 2 new positions. We are not short right now. We're also advertising though for part-time. They want to use part-timers to fill in. There's one association weekend, and then every other Monday, right, Steve? It's every other Monday that's not covered. So they were going to use part-time staff to fill in those day shifts as well. So.
And as I understand, part of the necessity of having more full-time is again because the lack of part-time people being available, and again because of the added or continuing training requirements necessary to find people to fit that bill.
So their
Lack of volunteers as well.
Lack of
Volunteer
volunteers.
EMTs and paramedics.
You know,
Their plan with the new schedule and hiring the 2 new full-time plus additional part-time is to get it fully staffed with full and part-time people 24 hours a day and utilize volunteers for their backup crew. So that is the ultimate goal with this new schedule.
and budget impact, obviously this was calculated into the budget. We just
Correct.
are in the process of working on it.
Correct. I spoke with Casey yesterday, and they're on track for, if everything, numbers stay the same, to be over 1,050 calls this year
And
in transports.
not all of this cost is carried by the levy, because we do get reimbursed then from the various patients that you transport as well too. I realize that's somewhat in flux. How are we doing? Because we're using that billing system now. Has that improved our actual reimbursements?
Reimbursements are coming in faster. They're doing a lot better job of documentation, working with Casey and the crew to make sure they get accurate documentation for the calls. So the reimbursements are coming in a lot faster.
Okay, call the question then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item I have, I handed out this morning, and that is the Highway Maintenance Worker Intermittent Foreman Letter of Agreement. This was approved by the union and returned to us yesterday, so we are ready for the full board to vote on this to approve an increase of a shift differential, basically from $1 an hour to $2 an hour ongoing, to have a designated intermittent foreman to back up to Nate as the maintenance superintendent when in his absence.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for approval.
I'll support that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. And then the last item, and me and Steve may tag team this one, but the staff retention payment resolution, which Dan was looking at earlier. So this is, something that we talked about as a kind of a thank you to employees, through, COVID and just, unprecedented market for, employees. So we're looking at a payment of $1,500, one time at the end of this year, for all employees who worked from January 1st through December 1st of this year. And then hopefully we can pay that out mid-December as long as the unions approve it. So if the county board does move forward with this today, we would then have to draft MOUs with the union for them to accept the payments. And then December 13th board meeting, it would come back for final approval of all the union payments to be paid out hopefully on December 16th, as long as they are back by then. So we're looking at $1,500 for anyone employed the entire year through, or January 1st through December 1st. $750 for anyone hired prior to July 1st, and then $375 for anyone hired prior to October 1st. I don't know if there's anything to add, but go ahead.
Just to add to it, again, this will be using ARP funds, which is an allowable use of those funds for staff retention. So, and I did budget, and the ARP fund's $111,000. Kathy did the math on all of them, and we will be at $102,750, so a little less than what I had in that sheet I presented at the last board meeting on where we were at with the ARP funds.
Then Kathy, I assume that as far as the bonuses themselves, they're gonna be treated tax purposes as regular income, so they'll have Social Security and state and federal, and probably will para also be drawn from that, or can para be excluded from that?
Not para. We looked that up. That is excluded.
That can be excluded because it is a bonus. It's not part of their normal salary, so, but
Right.
the rest of it will all have to come out of there.
Right.
Right.
I'd like to strike the word all from, because it doesn't apply. Just for accuracy.
Doesn't apply based on, because of elected officials, is that what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
just so that it's clear that.
I guess I understand the clarity there, but again, we're not employees. There's that distinction. The commissioners as elected officials.
Well, not just commissioners, but I mean other electeds, and I guess I'm curious, there are some other names on here as well that are on the list that doesn't show an amount, so I'm assuming they're not getting it too either?
That'd be correct. Because their hours are less than 16 hours per week.
Okay.
That was our differentiation point. They're what you call it, temporary, part-time, at-will type of people. They're
Right.
not scheduled 16 hours. That's what we're trying to do, is
Right.
those that are routinely scheduled. So that's why there's a few of them that are like a jailer and another jailer, dispatcher, those types of positions.
Sure.
They come in as needed, so.
I guess it's to back to the question of elected officials. So some of our elected officials obviously are truly full-time employees. So
No,
Is
they
it-
would not get it either, because they are elected their salaries are set, on an annual basis.
Right, and I'm not advocating that change, I'm just
Yeah.
saying that all of them really, I mean, we're still county employees, even though we're elected. Aren't we?
technically not.
Not technically.
Yeah, technically we're not employees.
We're not? Oh. Okay,
Changed your decision, didn't it?
well, I guess if that's the
I
case.
mean,
but-
it kind of depends on the policy, and, it depends on what you're talking about. As far as, like, you guys are elected officials, but you're treated as employee for purposes of being eligible for insurance and stuff like that, so.
Right.
Your elected officials are not on a pay plan.
True.
You know, there's a difference there too.
Right.
There. You actually set your own salaries.
Right. I guess I just figured if you're getting paid, you're kind of employed.
It's a nuance.
Yeah. But yeah, whichever, it doesn't, I guess.
I
if
have no
that's-
problem with
if that's the
striking the alls. If
distinction.
that, if that clarifies it in the eyes of the board, that's fine with me. I have no issue with that. I'll make that change.
Okay.
That's easy enough. Not a problem. The important thing is it's important to our staff to show them that they're valuable. They work very hard
And they
during
are,
these times, and that's a
and
very
yeah.
good thing. We want,
That's why
that's
we're doing
the
it,
ultimate, exactly.
trying to
Yeah,
recognize their,
for sure.
I guess the one question I do have though, in the case of our sheriff, okay? So all of his subordinates will be receiving this, but because he's elected as sheriff, he won't receive this bonus? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
yeah,
Listed not eligible on this last page, and be him, the attorney, and us.
right.
Is
fine.
that fair to Keith? Because he truly is a full-time, he puts in full-time hours.
He's still an elected official.
He's
He
not
was
an
elected by
employee.
the voters.
We have neighboring counties that sheriff didn't put in full-time hours for 4 years, so,
There are some that don't.
so Keith chose to do the job.
Okay,
I think it's something that could be considered when you're setting his salary for next year as well. I mean, that might be something you wanna take a look at.
That will be on the 13th of December to set salaries.
This is a comprehensive list of all our employees.
Yes, yep.
I don't think I've ever seen one of them,
Okay,
and exactly what they do, you know.
sure.
Looking for an approval on this, Mr. Chair? I'll so move, I'll motion that we approve the staff retention payment resolution.
I'll support that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I'll make those changes to the resolution.
I think that's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Sarah Ackerman with Western Mental Health. Good morning, Sarah.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you guys this morning?
How are you?
So obviously, as Les said, I'm Sarah Ackerman. I'm the Executive Director of Western Mental Health Center, and Les asked me to join just to kind of give a little bit of information and really answer some questions, I think, right, is where we're at. I don't know if you want to kick us off or if you just want me to kind of give an
Well,
overview.
The board is pretty familiar where we're at with Western, or
Southwest
Southwestern
Mental
Mental Health. And in the coming year, being a pilot program kind of with Western. And on Thursday afternoon, with all the other chaos going on at the hospital, I'll fill you in later on that. We had a meeting with Brad and Amy Nelson, the clinic director, about Western embedding themselves into the hospital someplace. And we got a good temporary start of, 3 or 4 offices for sure, maybe 4. Upstairs in the old hospital part. On the east side of where senior linkage is at. Right next to the hallway going to the surgery, so that's gonna be a quick startup place, and hopefully down the road, we can do some more shifting around and get them into a more permanent location, so I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. So as Les said, we've been having some conversations due to the nature of where you guys are sort of at with your current mental health contract for services. And we've been visiting with Southwest Health and Human Services in regards to extending our contract with them. We currently serve 4 of their counties, Lincoln, Lyon, Murray, and Redwood. And so this would be adding a 5th if we would look to move forward here with Pipestone. And then what we would look to do is initially bring in adult and children's services. So we would primarily do that, obviously starting very small initially. We have a very quick turnaround time here that we're looking at, which I think we'll have to look at the start date. We haven't got confirmation or any contracts at this point in time or talked any figures or whatnot. And so I think that's really our next step, is sort of that negotiation piece of what does a contract look like for services, the specific services that we're outlining, that we're committing to, and then the actual start date of when we'll kick off this pilot. As Les indicated, we're looking at doing a year-long pilot, and we would start off, as I was beginning to say, around outpatient services. In particular, we would do a children and adult outpatient, and then we would also look to bring some psychiatry services, so med management and med vals, evaluations here, and then some community-based services as well. So CTSS, that probably doesn't mean anything, but basically a children's provider that goes into the homes, potentially the schools, if they're allowable, and then provide services that way. And then also we would look to bring an adult community worker as well to travel into the homes. So we'd start there, and then we'd build from that model. We are currently a certified community behavioral health clinic, and so in order for us to make this cost effective long term, if I can say that, we would need to look to bring and add in some additional lines of service here fairly quickly, including some substance abuse and also some mobile crisis, in order to be able to get that certification extended to Pipestone County. And so those would be some ancillary services that we'd look to add down the road in order to be able to hold true to our certification, and then be able to bill the MCOs and the PMAPs then accordingly for that service. So that's really what our long-term plan would look like. Our goal is that this first year pilot kicks off well. As Les mentioned, we'd like to be embedded in the hospital. The reason for that is that we have found that model has worked out very well. Primary care is really the first avenue, as many of you know. Primary care and the ER, right, are the first avenues where we first see mental health, and so it's just proven to be a great collaboration, communication, and just a smooth handoff for referrals. We are embedded in 2 other hospital/clinic systems and have found that to be very successful, which is also the reason why we're looking to bring that model again here. We also realize that there's other community providers in this county, and we are very happy to work with them. One center cannot do it alone, and so we would look to tap into their specialties as well and refer back and forth. We do that in our other counties, and we would look to continue those relationships and truthfully expand them into this county as well, besides working with human services in the hospital. So that's kind of the initial plan. I'm not sure what questions you guys have. Yes.
Well, and again, obviously we need to meet the needs of our citizens. So the concept of being there at the hospital, because we know that quite often in crisis situations, that's the center of it. So what is your concept as far as number of office staff and hours? Are you going to be looking at a 40-hour week there with a number of employees, or what's the plan?
So, Dan, that's a great question, and I wish I had a good answer for you at this time. Just coming into this county, and really, we just got the letter last week from Southwest. We honestly have no idea what the numbers are going to be. It's been a while since Southwestern Mental Health Center has had an office space here, as you all know. I know, like I said, there's been some other community providers that have stepped up to the plate, which is fantastic. We look to build our relationships with them and complement their services, really, and try to expand on the gaps that they have. I know that there's been some credentialing issues, according to the visit with the hospital, around some different options in the community, so we're looking to fill some of those gaps with bringing in a variety of folks. Our goal would be to look to try to staff it eventually full-time. Initially, we'll start off with a couple days a week, and then we'll look to recruit additional staff, and then bring those folks in then accordingly as soon as we can find them. Based upon need, right? Because I don't know how many of those other folks are being served by other people, what that'll look like as far as the need ongoing. We do have some people already traveling to our current offices and our other locations. Now, will they come back to Pipestone rather than travel? There's all those unknowns that we just really, it's hard to predict at this time.
And we know from our previous work, some of the big challenges, of course, is crisis intervention, and that's been a problem throughout the world. But working in close collaboration with law enforcement as well, too, and that doesn't always happen 9 to 5.
Right,
Yeah.
it doesn't, for sure. We're very familiar with that model. And I'll just share, in our other counties, in particular in Lyon County, we do have a co-responder that is actually embedded in local law enforcement. And so we've got a mental health professional / licensed alcohol drug counselor. And so he works hand in hand with law enforcement. You know, depending upon where this model goes, that could be something that we could potentially look at in the future. Otherwise, we do have our mobile crisis team. Some of you are aware, some of you may not be aware. But when Southwestern Mental Health Center closed their office and they shut down their mobile team, then Western actually stepped up, and we are currently already working with the hospital ER in regards to your crisis assessments. We're doing everything right now via telehealth, our mobile, and so we'll look to continue that moving forward, and then hope to look to expand on that. Obviously, when we're embedded in the hospital, to be able to do those assessments face to face and do those smooth handoffs, as I mentioned earlier, that way.
I think this is very, very encouraging. And again, we're in kind of a unique situation where we actually own the hospital, obviously. So I see that as being a very good partnership, and it's going to fit a lot of needs that we have. So I'm excited by this.
Yeah, it's going to hopefully be a great fit. I really appreciate Les connecting us and the staff over there. They seem very open and willing to work with us on finding a long-term solution rather than just a temporary Band-Aid, if we can say that. As I said to them last Thursday, and I'll say that this here to you folks today, is that it's really important to Western and to myself that we do a good job when we first open our doors, because the first impression is going to be very important to those folks. We want them to have a good experience and seamless care and a smooth transition. And so realistically, I know the original time frame is January 1, but with so much work to do, that's probably that's not realistic at this time to be able to make sure that they have a good quality experience. And so those are all the details that we'll have to work out as we move forward and continue visiting.
Do you envision this? We talked about senior linkage, and also the other private providers. Do you see this as a way to complement what their services are already, to be able to work hand in hand with each other? It's not going to be competitive by any means, and neither one of us are capable of handling the total workload. So
there's so much need, Dan. I mean, I think they would say the same thing. I don't want to speak for them. I know I've only met the community providers here just a couple of times, to be honest with you, but looking to get to know them better. They have certain specialties, just like we have certain specialties, and so that's where that comes really into play very nicely, to be able to complement each other's services. And just from the high need in this community, there's definitely not enough staff to go around, if I can say that. There's a shortage of mental health professionals and staff everywhere. Staffing is hard, just in this industry as a whole, much less everywhere else, right? I'm sure you guys are experiencing that at the county level as well. And so I think as many hands on deck and as many people helping to serve the needs that can work together, the better.
I'm excited about this. This gives us great potential to be able to grow. I think this is going to be a good thing.
Great, we're excited about it as well.
We haven't seen growth in our county for a number of years in mental health. It's been a decline.
Do you have access to inpatient services at other sites then, if you need them, or?
So we don't do any inpatient services, Luke. We work to all of our referrals for inpatient. We'll look to the closest provider. So that could be of Air Marshall potentially if they have openings. Otherwise, we'd look to Sioux Falls or wherever. I mean, I think that's the same model that Southwest had. It would be the same model that we had or any other area providers at this time. We don't do any inpatient.
And I don't know if that's something that we as a hospital board can certainly ask questions about. Maybe there's room for a growth opportunity there as well too. I don't know.
Time will tell. Any other questions for Sarah?
I understand that capacity-wise, I know our neighbors to the south, Rock County, are in a similar situation that we are, but it just doesn't look like you've got the capacity to take on any of their workload.
At this point in time, I'm not going to look at Rock. Like I said earlier, we have a natural relationship with Pipestone, truthfully. I'm not, like I said, some of you may or may not be aware, we kind of, our two counties butt up right up to this one, and so we already have people sort of filtering over already, especially when you lost services for a while. We also are embedded in your drug court program and have some providers that live very close by. And so that's just a natural fit for us, honestly. We really want to do the service well and have some of those natural relationships. So this is just a good, smooth, easy transition partnership. We're not as close to Rock County, and there's just some additional challenges there that are not located in this county, if I can say that.
And some of the other commonalities we have, of course, is our partnership with Southwest 18
Yes.
Mental Health Consortium as well, too.
Absolutely.
So it all kind of dovetails together.
It does.
And Dan, Sarah mentioned too that, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. That there's CBB already, and they're going to try to carry that over, and that was one of the downfalls of Southwest Mental Health, and that's why they weren't getting the reimbursements and stuff too, and that's why they really got hit financially, is because they weren't able to achieve that service and maintain that certification. So.
Chris sat with me on the mental health board or Southwest. So-
Sure. And Chris, that's going to be really important, and that's a really important fact, is that that's where we're going to have to be looking at our menu of services fairly quickly in order to be able to make sure we can get that certification. We'll be able to then fill that gap where with the private payers, they're typically looking at insurance-based and those things, and so we'll look with you guys to be able to get the CCBH rate that helps pay the enhanced rate for, like I said, the MCOs and the PMAPs around that, so that'll help sustain this office long term, and then just fill in the gap for the holes where the other folks are not maybe necessarily seeing that insurance, or it's not as profitable for them. I'm not saying they're not going to see that insurance, but it may not be as profitable for them where they can see the other folks, and that'll be again a nice collaboration around that as well.
Absolutely.
And of course, obviously, our partnership with Prime West as far as the other providers' reimbursement rate as well, too, separate from that. So,
Yeah. I don't know if you were at the last couple meetings where we talked about Prime West at Southwest Mental Health. According to their figures, Prime West pays about 12% bit more than anybody else.
Okay. And this will be our first Prime West County, so I guess we'll find out.
So, and we have a lot of office furniture out of the old Southwest Mental Health building. Do you sometime would have time to look and see what you would need? There's some stuff that's gotta stay, but we have a lot that's gonna go.
Sure, and I think those are the details that we all have to figure out, right? We have to figure out what level of uncompensated care that we're going to look up, that we're going to ask for. We're going to have to look up some startup funds, obviously, initially to kick us off. We're not going to be busy as soon as we open the doors. And so all those things are things that need to be discussed yet, and conversations with the hospital, with Southwest Health and Human Services, and then truthfully the transition part of that with Southwestern Mental Health Center as well.
We have that whole building with office desks, chairs and stuff that you can walk through and kind of put a tag on what you want. There's some stuff that is spoken for, but.
and you have had an opportunity to sit down with Brad Burris then?
Yeah, we visited last Thursday.
Yep. So we've got, that was last Thursday when you had that, okay, good.
Yeah, he was very, very open and excited about the possibility of having us embed there, which I'm very excited about. Like I said, I think that model will work very well for us and work well for this area.
Even a few years ago when we were looking at a facility other than the building that we had for Southwest Mental Health, that was one of the areas that had been discussed at that point, and it's got great potential. It really does.
I think from a patient standpoint too, they would like going to a facility where, you know, it's not necessarily known why you're there.
Right.
And,
There's
you
a
know,
certain anonymity involved in being in
Exactly.
a larger facility.
Absolutely. And truthfully, we found in other models, what we've done this with, or other areas we've done this model with, I guess I should say, is that we find the same thing, right? Is that we have somebody that comes in with elevated blood pressure, or they're experiencing some diabetic symptoms, and we have just walked them down to primary care, and vice versa. When they've experienced something mental health or something's come up in their offices, they've walked them right down to our offices. And that's where this collaboration and is key and has proven to be successful. I think it also reduces some of that stigma for folks that are a little worried about coming out and seeking services if it's its own separate site. We like to think that hopefully we don't have any of that and we're pushing that out in our world, right? But nonetheless, it still is out there and it still exists. And so this just removes some of those barriers and access to care for individuals and for folks that's a concern.
Have you had an opportunity to reach out at all to the senior linkage people to kind of fill them in on what our basic concept here is, so they're not left in the dark?
We have not reached out with anybody, and truthfully, I think that Brad wants to drive that piece of it, is my understanding. We visited with Brad, and we're here today.
Yeah.
Our board met yesterday, and obviously we have a lot of questions and things that we want to, details, if I can say that we want to work through yet before we actually make a formal motion to enter into a contract and those types of things. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done between now and the end of the year or right after the beginning of the year before we can get services started.
Especially when you throw the holidays in there.
Yes, 3 weeks is a short time frame because that's really what we've got, right? But very excited to work with Brad, very open, and he really wants to drive the communication with the staff at the hospital, and so they're hearing things from him, which I appreciate and respect.
And you mentioned your board, so in the big picture going down the road here, are you looking for us to become part of your organization, or are we just gonna be contracted services with Western? What's your concept?
So I think, Dan, that really depends about how things go. Obviously, during this first year of the pilot, we would look to probably have separate meetings with you at this time in order to be establishing services and to talk about how that's going, things that are going well, things that need to be improved on. And then from there, we can have conversations about whether that looks like you guys joining us, if there'd be an opt-in fee. We would need to look at our bylaws and some of those types of things potentially as well. So I think we just need to take one step at a time, if I can say that. And I think it depends how our relationship evolves. Right now you have a variety of people that you're contracting with for services, is my understanding from Southwest Health and Human Services. And so that doesn't necessarily lead to having somebody join Western's board. But again, we'll see how this relationship evolves and how services continue to move forward, hopefully, if we're optimistic. And then we can make those decisions and determinations at a later date.
Very good.
Any other questions for Sarah? If not, I want to thank you for coming down, taking the time to highlight the board here.
Yeah, absolutely. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, want to learn more at the services. We'll be back, right? As we get further along in this process, probably within, I'm guessing, the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks. And so I look forward to visiting with you then and figuring out a little few more of the details.
Great.
Great, thanks you guys.
Reach out to me when you need anything from the county level, okay?
I will, great,
Appreciate
perfect,
that.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a great day.
You too.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Les.
Other business, third quarter budget report.
And you have the third quarter budget report in front of you, also the third quarter expenditures. One item I'd just like to bring up regarding the public service building, which you might notice that the amount is quite high on that, is that we had, that is account 113. It's actually not too high, but we had both Johnson Control contracts show up in the same year, so showing a little bit higher. The overall net was 138%. So we've got all of our income coming in from Southwest Health and Human Services, but our 22 and 23 Johnson Controls contracts came in 2022, so that's why it's up a little bit, but the expenditures are okay. This is the biggest thing I had on that. Unless there's any questions the board has about any items?
Apparently this must have been before second half taxes came
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And the ag taxes just came in November 15th.
Sure.
So they wouldn't be on there either.
Right.
But other than that, I have no issues. And the reason conservation is so high is Kyle's been doing a bang-up job with the septic loans. So that's why that's so high. So that's reimbursement money in and out, so.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing. So that's why you might notice that's, almost 1,000% greater, but Drive around the county, you see a lot of mound systems now around, a lot of new houses with mounds, so it's a good program, it's excellent, so those are the basic couple things I just wanted to report back on that, looking fine.
We need action on this, right?
Yeah. Request a motion, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Fairgrounds, Steve?
Commissioner Johnson contacted me, that the Dakota 38+2 had contacted him and they're requesting use of the fairgrounds again this year, December 17th through the 19th, as they make their way east, as they looking for a place to board their horses and stay with them, just as we've done the last several years, so.
They do that in the outside corral, right?
Yes. I think they've also used the horse barn if they needed it also.
Depending on weather and so forth.
Wayne has worked with them over the years, so it's.
Sure, I'll move that we approve this request.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
One other thing I have down here, actually two, I did have in front of you, we need to schedule a public hearing for our county fee schedule, recommending that be Tuesday, December 13th at 9:30. I'll be advertising that in the newspapers as well. We didn't do one last year, we didn't have any changes to the fee schedule, but there are a few changes this year, so request that we do another public hearing, and that those would be effective January 1st of 23. So it's an annual if needed, and like I said, last year we didn't need to do it because there were no changes. So recommendation to, a motion to set the public hearing for December 13th, 9:30 a.m., please.
Mr. Chair, move for approval.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And last thing I have on here in the upcoming meeting section is I put in your boxes a copy of the FEMA flood insurance rate maps, and there's also going to be a county coordinating meeting at the EMS building on 11/30 of 22. All commissioners are invited to that. That's from 3 to 5, and from 5 to 7 there's a public open house for any residents that have questions regarding their flood insurance and the new maps. So if you're available and want to attend that, that'll be again November 30th, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. That'll be officials meeting with the FEMA reps to go over the maps, and then the public part of it will begin at 5 to 7. So, that would be again on November 30th. If you can make it, that would be great. If not, totally understandable. But I'll be there, Kyle will be there, Nick will be there, and then FEMA reps will be there, Casey will be there from emergency management. So there'll be quite a few folks around, and we'll go over the maps, the big maps, we'll lay them out on the table, and we'll get to see what changed on the flood insurance maps, and which does affect, obviously, the city of Pipestone and areas around the ditch as well. So we do have a vested interest in that too, to see what's gonna be happening there.
And this will be over at the EMS building.
That's correct. So welcome to attend that.
I have a question on the start time for the township officers meeting. Is that correct? Because normally it starts at 9.
That's possible. Jeff requested the room from 8 o'clock through the morning, so
Oh, he might
it may
set
be
up.
9 o'clock, so.
I think him and Deb set up last time, had like
Right.
danishes and stuff like
Ready
that.
Oh,
for
okay.
everybody.
So, somewhere, when I find out more, look for the information on it. You could be right, it could be starting at 9, but
Yeah,
he,
right.
he requested it at 8, so I said, okay.
Well, when did Santa Claus start? That's usually at the same time.
Yes,
That was 9 o'clock.
it always has been. Won't be a problem this year.
And I did mention to Jeff when I talked to him that the township officers were short of a member of the township officers on the SRDC board. And he was going to bring that up and see if he could find a representative from the townships to serve. I know we had talked about that Steph LeBrun had requested to be a member of that. However, she's not a township board officer, so she is unavailable too. Or not eligible, I should say.
And if I may, as well with SRDC, we also have another vacancy with Myron.
Coates.
Yep, no longer being mayor next year, so any mayor in the county would be eligible to sit in on that committee as well. So we should reach out and see if any are interested in being on that commission.
And Minor had been very active.
He was chairman this last year. He's very active with that group. So he's gonna leave a big void or losing him is gonna leave a big void with that group, so.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anything else come before this board?
Truth and taxation is the 12th, Monday the 12th.
That's correct. Regular board meeting on the 13th,
Yep.
and we'll set final levy and budget on the 27th.
Sounds good.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We stand adjourned.
2:35.
I'll be good at that.